Today I've got some luscious lemon decor DIYs. I'm Brandy and this is Making It My Own DIYs. Keep watching! The first one is going to be a lemon banner sign. I have a little stencil here and this is from Essential Stencil. I have a calendar page from Dollar Tree with lemons on it. Here's the artist. Let's give him some credit. This sign from Dollar Tree. I like the shape of it. This little, I think this is it says a wreath charm and a placemat, and this one came from Dollar General, so it's even less than $1.25. Love this print so much. So I'm going to take off this little applique. This is just a little detail on the front that's raised up. It's paper, so I'm just sliding this little knife under here and just loosening it up because I'm going to use this as a measuring piece for something we're going to add later. Perfect. Now we're actually going to use this side, so we're going to take our tags off and we're going to use this side to put our project down. It's nice and smooth. We don't have to go through any extra work of sanding or painting. I'm going to put it on top of the placemat. Use my little clamps to help hold it in place, just to make sure it's lined up perfectly while I trace it out on the back of this placemat. Alright, so I'm going to take a black marker here and I'm just going to go around the edge, and I am making sure that I don't bump the sign with the edge of that marker. I just don't want that black on there. Make it nice and clean. Alright, so then we will take the clamps off. Here is that shape, and then all you have to do is take your scissors and cut it out. And these placemats are very easy to cut. Very smooth to cut. You can use your scissors or whatever tool you have to trim that down, and you can see that it fits perfectly on there. We're going to use it this way, so we're going to flip it upside down and use it differently than it was originally intended. I've got my clamps ready, I've got my fix-all adhesive from Dollar Tree, and then we're going to use our glue gun to put this piece together. So I decided to use the fix-all rather than just the hot glue because that surface is really slick on that placemat, and I don't want it to pull off of the hot glue. So this is just going to be kind of a little bit of insurance that nothing comes apart here. And I was down to the end of that tube. Got some more backup though. Always got some backup. So now I'm going to quickly put down some hot glue here on this, what is going to be the bottom, or it's actually going to be the top of our sign, because we're going to flip it around again in a minute. And quickly put that in place, slide it around, and while it's on that fix-all, you can actually pick it up and move it if it's in the wrong spot. So if you choose not to do hot glue, and you certainly don't have to, then you can just skip that. I'm using my little clamps here to make sure that it sticks down well to the hot glue that I put and to the other glue. And I've flipped it around, and I'm going to work on the outside edge of the curved part. And you can see that the fix-all has not dried yet, so it's easy to lift it back up. You always want to put your hot glue down last because it cools the quickest, and once it's cool, it does not have any stickiness. So we're going to grab all those little clamps and just hold everything down, and I'm just kind of rubbing it with my fingertips in case there are any little raised areas from that glue. I'm trying to push it down onto the board and thin it down just a little bit. We don't want any obvious bumps. So here's that little label or the little sign piece. I'm going to add this to some foam board, and I'm just going to cut it. I'm showing you here, you can cut it with scissors, but it's much easier to do it with some type of an X-Acto knife. So you can just go right down the center. I'm going over the line that I traced. We're going to flip it over, fold it, and then you can clearly see your line in the back, and just go ahead and cut down that line to get the two pieces. We're only going to use one, so we'll put one aside for another project. And use my sanding block just to make those edges a little bit smoother. I don't want anything to interfere with the next step of this process. So once you sand it, just kind of wipe it off. You're just getting the roughness down, any little jagged edges. And the only part of this calendar sign that I want to use for the project is the lemon portion. So I'm going to cut it out, making sure that it is bigger than what I need, because I want enough so that it will overlap by about 1/4 of an inch on the back side. That's going to give us a nice smooth finish, and we shouldn't have to worry about it peeling off. So another adhesive I like to use is a glue stick. Good old Elmer's glue stick. Now, for whatever reason, this glue stick should be purple and it's barely showing up. However, it is still very sticky. So just in case you use your purple stick and it's losing its color, in my situation, it still works perfectly fine. So don't throw it away. Don't give up on it. Try it and see what happens. I'm going to just rub that down with my hand to get it in place. Flip it over and crease right along the edges with my fingers, because we're going to fold this over to give it a nice clean edge. Now you may look at these pieces and think, why would you put those particular pieces together other than the fact that the theme is lemons, right? Well, I had an idea or a vision for this of sort of like maybe a vegetable market or a produce market somewhere, you know, in little towns where they on the weekends maybe rope off the neighborhood or rope off downtown, and everybody walks up with their baskets or comes up on their bike and collects all the goodies that they want. So that was kind of my vision with this sign, and when we're done with it, you can let me know if you feel like it actually comes across that way. So again, with the Fix-All, because we're sticking it to that slick placemat surface, I'm going to add just a little bit. It won't take a lot. This sign really doesn't weigh very much. I just don't want it to be knocked off. So in between there, we're going to add some hot glue on the edge. Not too close to the edge, because you don't want it to squish out when you put it down. And then I'm going to flip it over and put it, it's not going to be centered because it's a little bit short, but you won't notice that. You won't notice it at all. I want the lemon word to be off to one side. I'm going to press it into place until my glue cools. And then on the back of that wreath charm, or on the foam board underneath, I'm going to add some more of that Fix-All adhesive, which is really just a super glue, or E6000 will work too. And then I'm going to add some hot glue and overlap this. You can do it squared up, or you can kind of do it at an angle, whatever way you like it. But you can see welcome, and then the bicycle, and then lemons. It looks like, you know, if you're going to go in there and get you some lemons for some fresh cut lemonade. So I've got this little dowel rod now, and I want this to be something that will hang, right? It's at a little farmer's market. We want it to hang up so that everybody can see the goods that we're selling. So I'm going to cut my dowel rod down, cut it with whatever you have, and then use your sanding block to smooth your edges so it won't be rough looking. And then to put it on the back, there has to be some way to attach it right to the edge of that board. So we're going to give it a little support with these popsicle sticks. These actually may be just called crafting sticks because they're pretty big. They're larger than, you know, the standard size. So I'm just going to use hot glue for this part, and I'm going to have it overlapping. You can see that it overlaps so that this stick will sit right against it and look as though it is all one piece. And I'll just use the same as we did before, a little Fix-All, a little bit of hot glue, and then we'll put the dowel rod down so that we have something nice and finished looking. See, it's kind of rough right there with the popsicle sticks, but we won't notice that. Right along the edge, you can add your hot glue, and on the top of where the little welcome bicycle sign is, that one too. Just to give a little more security, you can go back over your seam here. Because it's on the back side, you won't be able to see this when it is finished. Just going to make sure everything is nice and secure with my Gorilla Glue. So here's the sign so far. We're going to use some of this twine. Now this is baker's twine. I am not entirely sure where mine came from. I feel like I probably got it at Goodwill, because I wouldn't have had a reason to buy a spool that big anywhere else, especially with it being yellow and white. But it matches perfectly for this project. So I'm just wrapping it around the edge and then wrapping back over itself. You can see here what I'm doing, and then you'll see me do it on the other side. So I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue. We don't want a lot of a mess, just a little bit to catch that piece of string. Figure out how long you want it to be, and then once you get it in the right place, you can do the other side. Once that is on the back side, go ahead and you can cut it off, whatever extras you have. On the top of the welcome sign, I was going to fill that in with a little bit of spackle, but the spackle color is not the same. It's sort of an off-white color, and I didn't know if I'd had a paint that would match it without being so obvious. So I just thought, well, let's just put a bow on top of it. And this pretty bow, this ribbon came from Dollar Tree. And Dollar Tree may actually have some of these lemon placemats. I'm not entirely sure, but when I saw these displayed at Dollar General, I thought, yeah, I know the project for this. So I'm going to make a simple little bow here, and you can use whatever bow you like. Little stacked bow would be cute here too. Or you can skip it. You know, maybe you have a little greenery you want to put there, or a little faux lemon that's flat, maybe like a bead or a sticker or something. You could put that there. I'm just going to put a couple of knots so that it doesn't slip out. Pull my tails down. This is a really tiny bow, just a little finishing piece, really. I'll take that baker's twine and wrap it around the middle. I was going to cut it off, but as I began to wrap it around the middle, I thought, that's different. That's a cute look, so let's go with it. I'm just going to put both ends into that glue and then trim off what we don't need. And then, of course, you know you always got to fluff and fuss with any bow, even if it's a tiny bow. So I want to make this bow very pretty, very nice and dainty. I'm just going to cut slants at the end here to put on the top. It's a small ribbon, so I think the slants look nice too with the shape of this circle. But it still kind of overlaps a little bit, so I will be trimming that down just a tad. I'm going to put it up as high up as I can go so that it doesn't cover too much of our welcome. And it will still cover that hole. And then, like I mentioned before, you know, fluff a little bit and trim up what else you need to trim up. I don't mind tiny bows. I think they're really cute, so that's fine with me to have them smaller. And doesn't that look like maybe a farmer's market sign? Bicycles welcome, bike riders welcome, come and get your lemons and make some lemonade. Yeah, I think that'll work. I hope you like this one. I really do like it. The next project is going to be a lemon beaded wreath. I got these at the thrift store, but you can use whatever type of lemons you have. You can make some out of wood rounds. This is some burlap ribbon I got from Temu. This is a scrap of thrifted ribbon. And these are some Dollar Tree ribbons. And they have the pretty little lemons. This is a Dollar Tree beaded wreath. Here's the information for you. They do come in this non-finished color, a dark brown and a black at my stores. We're going to use some greenery, whatever we like, and I like that these leaves on this flower happen to match very closely to what is on a lemon tree. We're going to have a little arrangement on the side, so in order to do that, we have to have a bigger surface to glue and attach our items. So we'll trace that out on that extra piece of foam board that I had, and then I'm going to cut it out in just a little sliver of a circle, just enough to give us some base to organize and attach our pieces. And what I love about this wreath that you will see toward the end of it is that you can lay this or hang it in any way that you like. This wreath will not have a definitive top and bottom, so you can just move it around, you know. Heck, you could change it up day to day if you wanted to, just to see if anybody notices. So I'm going to add some of this floral pick on here. Do y'all know what those picks are? I don't know what that flower is, but it sure is pretty. I want to call it a snapdragon, but I don't think that's it. So I'm going to take a tumbling tower block. The reason mine is yellow is because it came in a Easter pack from Target that I thrifted. And then we're just going to kind of arrange a little bit, whether it's a wreath or a floral arrangement in a cup or a candelabra, whatever it is. Always make sure that you look at your product as it would be when it is finished. You don't want any of the back sides and the plasticky parts of leaves showing. For example, you don't want your stems, if they look cheap and fake, you don't want those showing. So I'm just going to move on. I've got my flowers down, one flower down, I've got the greenery laid down, and I'm just going to start putting down these beautiful little pieces of lemon. This is like, it's like resin. It's not rubber, it's hard, but you can see through it, which made these really nice. And I also thrifted some that are limes too, so maybe a margarita video. Who knows? A little tropical delights. We'll have to see what happens. It's summer, it's early, we have plenty of time. Okay, so I'm gonna add, just like I do with my other wreaths, I'm just gonna add until my little heart's happy. I'm gonna add some little leaves here and there. I'm gonna fill it out with flowers here and there. We're gonna look at it from all angles, like I always say, and continue to fill out until you get it how you like it. I'm going to take this ribbon, which is about 2 feet long. I'm gonna cut it into 12-inch segments. Then I can cut it further into 6-inch segments. So now I have 4 6-inch pieces. And then of course, we want to finish off our edges. You can dovetail them like I did here. Gonna pinch it in the middle, fold it back on itself, and we get these little tails. These just look special to me, and it's a really nice way to add pieces of fabric or another type of an element to your projects without having to put a big bow on it. If you don't like bows, but you like the little whimsy of these, then I think this would work for you. Just a little extra dots of color. And I love this color yellow. I've used this ribbon before. It's really pretty. Not that I'm a huge polka dot fan, but you know, I don't say no necessarily to anything until I've tried it. And the quality of the ribbon is very nice. It does have wire in it, which makes it great for these folds and for fluffing up the tails or folding out the tails, however you want to call when you give it a little extra attention. So the last 2 that I did, I put on the back side of the wreath. The other 2 are on the top side of the wreath, and it just gives it a little more shadow and dimension and texture, which I love. So now let's address this side. I want to add a little something over here, but I don't want to add it exactly in the center. I want it to be sort of, you know, kind of off at a different angle. I'm going to take the same little greenery, flowers, everything right here and put down. And that's just a little berry looking part of the pick that I wanted to add. This is a scrap that I cut off, and I'm just going to add that right into the greenery. See what I mean? Just a little unexpected, little extra something over there. And the 2 sides look great together. But you can see here that this lemon is not quite as secure as I would like it to be because of the beads rolling back and forth. So I'm just going to take a bead of glue down each side where the lemon connects to the wreath, and that's going to kind of lock it in place so it won't spin around or make a mess. Now look at all the options with this wreath. I'm going to show you all the ways that you can lay this wreath, that you can hang this wreath. If you want to add a hanger, a ribbon hanger would be nice. You could also just hang it right off of the beads, off the wreath itself, because that way you can change it up every day. And you're locked into one way. You can watch my videos on Mondays and Thursdays at 6, and it's free. The next project is a lemon tea sign. This little bag was the inspiration for this. And then I've got these ribbons. Now I started off with these because this is one of those projects that I can't give you everything ahead of time because I wasn't entirely sure where I was going. So just pay attention on this one and I'll let you know what you need. First off, I'm going to cut down this bag. Now this came from the thrift store. I got it at the thrift store because of the print. However, you can get yours anywhere and you can do this with any print that you like. It doesn't have to be lemons. It doesn't have to be anything in particular because you can change things up, right? You can change it. So just cut into the edge of that, and you can pull the strap right off. Then you can save that, seam to the ends, and use that ribbon for something else. Maybe you could use those handles for something this fall. I've put mine aside for that. I'm folding up and cutting off anything that's extra, so the extra on the top I removed. I start off by just roughly cutting around here to make things a little bit easier for me. And then I'm going to cut the bees out, because the bees are going to take a little more trim work, but they're not going to use all the work that it's going to take for this one. So I've got a piece of cardstock here, or you can use construction paper, cardboard, something to make it thicker. Foam board is going to be hard to cut details out. It's not impossible, but I've done it before. Let me tell you, it takes some work. So the main thing is to make this look like, is to kind of give it some thickness so that it will stand up. We don't want it floppy like it would be in a bag. And this bag does have like a plasticky top, and the back has almost like a fabric feel to it. So the Mod Podge works really good for this. You can put that on there, paint it all the way out to the edges, lay it down on the paper, and then just make sure you're brushing away any bubbles, wrinkles, whatever that might be under. And then I'm going to go over the top of it with another layer of Mod Podge. You can sit this in front of a fan to dry, or you can just leave it out while you work on something else. This is how it looks once it's dry. And from this point, we can go on to do what we would refer to as our fussy cutting. You want to cut as close as you can to whatever it is that you are cutting out. This is how it looks once it's done. You see how strong this is? Now it does have a little section there that I will cut out in the middle. I'm going to use this furniture repair marker, this sign that I got at the thrift store, our stencil, a variety of paints. And first off, we're going to start off with this. Look at the difference that this makes. Take your furniture repair marker. You can use black or dark brown. This may be mahogany, I think. And then go around the edges. This is going to give it a little more dimension. It's going to get rid of that white and make it look so much classier. So I've just got some yellow paint, stencil brushes, my bees, some painter's tape, and we're going to stencil. So I'm going to tape it down. I'm going to tap into my yellow and then get a lot of it out. I start off insecure, as I always do stenciling, and I start off with a little swirl, but then I was like, I don't know if that's going to work on this painted surface underneath, so I just decided to do the stippling. The stippling is fine. I'm going to go over every bit on this little thing with the same color for that first layer, and then you can go back in with a sponge brush once that is dry and just pounce it up and down with that sponge brush. Now, I could have done more layers and made it a stronger yellow, but I was completely fine with this. 2 layers. Not too bad. Got a little finishing work that we need to do, so I'm going to take my bridge brush and go right into that yellow, and each of the little gaps around the words, you can see where the gaps are, we're going to fill that in. I'm also going to go through here once these lemons are dry, and I'm going to add some little like fibers to the lemon, and it looks like pieces of lemon. So simple to do with that same little brush. Now this is still a little flexible, and there's a lip on this sign, so we're going to raise this up to be the height of that lip. That way it will stand above it instead of being squished inside. I'm going to use hot glue and these little thrifted rounds that I found. I think they're like little ornaments. Then you can do your tea standing straight up. You can do it to the side. Y'all know I live in the South, and tea is just something that we do. In the summertime, I've got to have iced tea. I've said this before. I drink it with no sugar, and I like lemon in it. It is so good, and it has to be over ice in a sweaty glass. So good when you're sitting on the porch in the heat. Okay, now I'm going to take a little piece of that ribbon, and we're going to make a new hanger for the back. I didn't feel like the ribbon that was on there was really matching the theme or the style in my house, so I'm just going to make a little hanger with this beautiful burlap. And you can see through this little, it's almost like an eyelet trim around the sign. You can see through it, so you can see the yellow there. I think that's kind of a little cute surprise. And there's our hanger. Now we're going to go back to our bees here. Now you can see that I left a little white on their feet, around their feet, so I wouldn't have to cut their feet off. You're not going to see that against the white, so don't bother yourself trying to cut all of that out. You won't see it on the white. I'm going to add some hot glue above where the original hole was here, so this little bee is facing toward the center. We'll pat it down gently. Then I'm going to go on this side and pat this little bee down. It's like it's flying over there to have a sip of that yummy tea. And then this one, I went ahead and cut off the little feet. I know it sounds terrible. Cut off the little feet because I don't want white showing here. Added the hot glue, put it on a lemon slice, and now I'll just go back in with another one of those bridge brushes, or a little thin brush, whatever you have. And I will put some legs back on the bee so it looks like he is standing on the lemon or hovering above it. You could also use an acrylic marker here or a paint pen if you feel a little more steady-handed that way. And this is how the third project looks. It's going to be hard to pick a favorite one for me this time, y'all. It's really going to be hard for me to do that because I enjoyed making all of these sweet tea projects, all of these lemon projects. Okay, so here are those three. If you enjoy budget-friendly DIYs, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. If you hit that little bell on the side, it will also notify you anytime there are changes in the schedule or anytime there's a new video that comes out. If you don't see notifications from me, it's because maybe you don't have the bell clicked, so go over there and see what you got going on. I love the lemon sign. Do you think that it conveys that it's welcoming to bicyclers? Do you think so? I think it does. I have an aunt and a cousin who ride bikes all the time. Yep, they are heavy-duty, hard-working, serious bikers too. My thighs hurt thinking about the miles that they... Ooh, I'm hurting thinking about it. But gosh, wouldn't some ice-cold lemon and tea be wonderful at the end of a long biking journey? Of course it would. Do you have a favorite of all these projects? And is there one in particular that you really like that spoke to you that you're going to try? I'd love to hear it in the comments. Thank you so very much for stopping by, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!